And finally, we have the exclusivity. See, I can't even say it, so scary. In this video, I talk about how to vet a dating partner for moving from a casual dating partner to an exclusive dating partner. So this video is from the perspective of someone who's wanting to move towards a committed exclusive relationship. And if anything about this video is helpful to you, please like it so YouTube can recommend it to others who may benefit from it. Let me paint the picture. You're casually dating multiple people and you're wanting to narrow down the prospects to one person who you date exclusively in order to really focus in on getting to know them more in order to determine if you want to actually have a committed relationship with them. In this video, we are looking at the things that you should pay attention to while you are casually dating multiple people in order to gauge whether someone is a good prospect to consider as an exclusive dating partner, which is before the committed partnership stage. And to be clear, exclusively dating is not being in a committed relationship. Exclusively dating is when you have decided to date one person for the purposes of really getting to know them more in order for you both to determine if it is a good idea to move to committed partnership. A committed partnership is when you have decided to kind of do life together, decided that you're going to move forward with the intention of being together and building things together. Okay, let's come right out of the gate and start with the thing that is probably going to vet out the largest pool of people while you are casually dating. And that is really assessing if the guy who you are interested in has any intentions of potentially committing to anyone, and specifically to you. What I'm getting at here is really starting to figure out if your dating goals are aligned with this other person's dating goals. If your dating goal is to move to a committed partnership, you want to be giving your time and energy to someone who actually has interest in doing that in a time frame that also works for you. For instance, someone may go into the dating process from the perspective of knowing they never want to get married, or knowing that they absolutely want to find a committed partner, or knowing that they're looking for that committed partner right this moment, versus someone else who knows that they're looking for a committed partner eventually, but they're not looking for that at right this moment. You know, to people who are very firmly set in the idea of just casually dating multiple people and going out and having experiences, versus those who are using casually dating as a way of vetting out people who they can exclusively date and then potentially have a committed partnership with. So when it comes to this, I think there are two main things to pay attention to. There is the guy who doesn't really want to spend time with you or doesn't make time to spend with you. And then there's the guy who is making time to spend with you. And really understanding what is likely going on in each of these scenarios. In scenario one, where it's somebody who maybe you've met in person or on a dating app and you're maybe chatting through DMs, maybe you're even texting, but they're not initiating spending time with you very often or consistently or really in any way, then what you are likely dealing with is someone who's really not interested and probably has determined that at this point are not attracted to you, or not attracted to you enough or in a way that they want to be in order to actually spend time with you. Needless to say, that is someone who you should immediately vet out of your dating pool. This is someone who is going to be a waste of your time and energy. This is someone who's going to frustrate you and annoy you and maybe even make you feel bad, because they are here probably to fulfill a need such as loneliness, or maybe to get a bit of an ego boost, or maybe they're working through some complicated things on their end, but they are not fully available or interested in being available to actually date you in any sort of legitimate or significant way. So you need to do for yourself the favor of choosing to say, no, thank you. I think in this type of scenario, it's fairly easy to not get caught up in the idea or that somebody actually may want to commit to you. I mean, granted, people can find themselves really holding on to any little bit of attention from someone and hoping that it becomes something. But what I'm saying is, if someone's not even trying to spend time with you, you should very quickly assume that they have no interest in committing to you at all or anywhere in the near future. But in the second scenario, this can be a little harder, I think. What I'm referring to is the guy who does want to spend time with you, who does choose to see you and hang out with you, and maybe go on dates, maybe not, but is actually wanting to see you and spend time with you. And so that is great because it allows you opportunity to get to know someone, to talk to them, things like that. But what can also happen in this situation is that women can take the guy's attention and his interest in being around her and with her as signs of him potentially wanting to commit. And that is a mistake. It is a mistake to just assume that because he's talking to you and seeing you and going out with you and doing things with you, that it's a clear sign that he wants to commit. What you need to do here is really vet. This is where the vetting is really key, because it's easy to assume that because someone wants to spend time with you, and it can be easy to assume that, okay, this person potentially sees a future here. And I'm not saying that they don't, but I am saying that you cannot assume they are. So this is where the questions start to come into play. The conversations that honestly a lot of people are uncomfortable having, but understand that if your goal is a committed partnership, then these are conversations that you need to have. And you don't have the luxury of just kind of, well, maybe we'll see. Because what that does is, and I need to stop and pause here because this is actually brings up a very, very important point that I've been talking with clients about a lot recently. So hold on. Hey, I just want to take a moment to mention my Better Breakup Recovery Program, which launches November 1st. It's an 8-week group coaching program for women who are recovering from breakups. You get a digital course, a PDF workbook, a members-only Facebook group, and you get group coaching calls with me. There's also an option for some one-on-one calls as well. But if you have any interest at all, join my email list or join the Better to Better waitlist. Both links are in this video description. Let's just bring in a little psychology, which is, in very basic terms, the fact that continued interaction with a human being who you have positive feelings about leads to more emotional attachment. So there is danger in continuing to engage with someone and spend time with someone and not knowing for sure what it is they want and what they're looking for. Because as you are spending that time with them and kind of letting things go, going with the flow, seeing what happens, and making assumptions because you're not asking key questions, then you are also continuing to build up a lot of positive regard for them and emotional connection, assuming that your interactions with them are good. And I'm assuming they're good if you keep wanting to go out with them and see them. If the interactions are bad, then generally you stop seeing them. So what I'm saying here is that a lot of times people find themselves in a situation where, weeks, months down the road, they may come to the conclusion on a logical basis that this person isn't right for them, this person's stringing them along, or they have realized that they just have certain things that are not aligned with the person and they're not interested anymore from a logical standpoint, but they are now emotionally attached to this person. And that is because they have allowed all of this time to go by while still engaging with this person, getting to know things about them, sharing things about themselves with this person, and that emotional attachment has occurred. So it is very important to start vetting people out earlier in this process of getting to know them so that you are not finding yourself becoming emotionally attached to people who it may not work out with. And I want to be clear. Obviously, no one is a fortune teller here. No one knows for sure who it will and won't work out with. But we can all do things to empower ourselves as much as possible to make the best decisions for ourselves. Ultimately, to make informed decisions. Informed decisions come from having information that allows you to assess and decide. And the way you get information is by having conversations and asking questions and not making assumptions. Because someone who's spending time with you, they can be on the side of wanting to casually date and wanting to sleep with you and wanting to just go out and have experiences and have a good time, or they can be on the other end of the spectrum where they are really vetting you as well and trying to determine if they want something exclusive and then potentially maybe committed. So what I'm saying here is, at the point in which you are casually dating someone and you are feeling like you're, interested in them and, you're curious or interested in possibly exclusively dating, you need to be asking questions like, hey, what are you looking for in terms of the dating process? And I want to be clear, there's the what are you looking for out of dating question, and then there's the what are you looking for in a partner question. And both are important. But in the beginning, what you're looking for in dating is very important, because if the person gives you an answer that is different than what you're looking for, then you need to stop dating them. Honestly, then it doesn't matter what they're looking for in a partner, because that partner isn't going to be you. So how do you do this? How do you have this conversation? To me, honestly, it's an easy conversation when it's being had at the right time. And what I mean here is early on in the dating process. Early on in the dating process of getting to know someone who literally is a stranger, and then you're starting to casually date them, so you're dating them and maybe a couple of other people, you have so little to lose from this situation. You can ask questions, and even if you don't get a response that you like, you can more easily be done with that person. If you wait until you're really starting to, again, engage with them and hang out with them, the stakes are going to be higher, and you're going to have more to lose. So early on in the dating process, I asked someone, what are you looking for out of your dating experience? Okay, so this is where we have the conversation of, well, I'm looking to, casually date people, or I'm looking for friends with benefits, or I know I very much want to get married, but I'm not, on a quick timeline, or I am very much looking to commit to someone pretty quickly. These are the conversations that need to be had. What you would be saying to them is, or what I encourage you to say to them, how I encourage you to view this dating process is saying something like, I'm currently looking to casually date people so that I can determine who I might want to exclusively date in order to decide if it makes sense to have a committed relationship. Something like that. Insert your own words that feel most comfortable to you. But in summary, the point you are getting across is, I'm currently dating multiple people and have intentions of narrowing it down to one person to get to know more, and then can see from there if it makes sense to commit to that person. In a perfect world, it is wonderful when and if people are very upfront and honest about what they're looking for, so that this person, this guy, can say to you, yes, I'm looking to casually date with the intention of finding one person to date and going from there. Or them being able to say, you know what, I'm really just looking for something more casual, looking to take, go out on dates or take people out, et cetera, et cetera. Or I'm looking for someone to have sex with casually and be a friend with benefits. Whatever the issue, it would be great if people are upfront and honest about that. And some people are, but some people are not. And it's either one, because they are lying and wanting to tell you what they think you want to hear, or they don't really know so much for themselves. So we should all go in with our own vetting arsenal in order to help ourselves make determinations as to who and what is best for us. Because this is not just about the other person liking you and wanting you. This is about you liking that person and wanting them as well. So empower yourself to go in with your tools that help you make decisions regardless of what that person is saying or doing. Okay, so in situations where someone's not being so upfront or not being so clear, I have my little handy dandy list here of things to make note of in order to help determine if the person really just wants to keep it casual. And I want to be clear, I'm not saying that each of these things stands alone as a reason to vet someone out. These are just some things to bring to your awareness and to notice as you are dating people. So first of all, someone likely wants to keep it casual if they tell you they just want to keep it casual. So good for them, for the honesty, great. But also, if it's someone who's only willing to text you or communicate with you through social media or dating apps and isn't doing much of, talking on the phone to get you to know you a bit, or really going out on dates to really get to know you. And I want to be clear, I also think that it can be a bit of an issue to only get to know someone on the phone. So having all of these deep, long, intimate conversations on the phone, but not really seeing each other in person very often, that also can be an issue. And that's a way of very much keeping things very casual. It's only communicating through the phone, because obviously if you are going to go on to have some sort of relationship with someone, you are going to actually need to see each other in person. So it can go too far in that direction. But what I'm ultimately saying is looking at the distance that someone is choosing to create between you. The physical distance as well as the emotional distance. So them keeping things just on social media and just in DMs may be a way of them continuing to keep things casual. Then also they, make plans well in advance to the point where it's like, okay, they're penciling you into their calendar. And I want to be clear, there's nothing wrong with, as someone who is very much organized on schedules and agendas, and that's how I live. There's nothing wrong with someone making advanced plans and being like, hey, I know I want to see you. I have a very busy schedule. Maybe you have a very busy schedule. Maybe it's hard for us to easily align our schedules. So let's definitely put something on the books, and let's make sure we have a time in place that we're going to meet, weeks from now. But in between that time, what is the communication like? So maybe we set a date that's a month out. Like, we know we're going to go do this thing in a month and it's on our calendars. So we are definitely making that time and space for one another. But in that month's time, is it pretty much crickets and like we meet up when we meet up? Or is there ongoing communication in between there where are maintaining contact, connecting? We may not be going super in depth about getting to know each other in those moments, because we know that when we see each other, we very much want to engage in those ways and get all the details of each other's lives and things like that. But there's still some connection there that is happening on a fairly consistent basis up to the time of meeting in person. Also, you don't meet their friends. And so what I'm saying here is, I'm not saying that like, oh, you haven't met this person's friends yet, like, vet them out. What I'm ultimately saying here is, as time is going on and you're casually dating someone, these are just kind of things to notice that can help indicate that the person only wants to keep it casual. They are not bothering to, bring you around friends, mention you to friends, anything like that. And so they may be in the headspace of like, yeah, I really see this staying as, casual and not moving on to anything else. And they don't speak of a future with you. And I don't necessarily mean, again, at the casual dating phase that they're saying, hey, let's get married someday. I know I'm going to marry you. But more just this idea of like, oh, a few months from now, I don't know, like this festival's coming up. Are they saying things like it'd be fun to go to that, or this, that, and the third? So I want to be clear again, this is not me saying that if these things aren't happening, oh no, boo, vet them out like automatically. These are just things that you can start to have in the back of your mind that help you start to form those very important questions for the conversations that you need to have so that you can understand what somebody wants. Okay, so what are those questions that you should ask? What are the conversations that you should have? Think about what it is that you are looking for in a partnership with someone. Think about what you would be looking for if you were exclusively dating someone. So what I mean here is, imagine having this one person who you are doing dates with, who you are going to events with, who are meeting your friends and things like that. And ask yourself, what would I be looking for out of that experience with someone? Because when you identify what that looks like, you can then form questions to ask this person in order to gauge if they are able to offer what you're looking for. So for instance, back to some of those things I just mentioned where you're assessing that whether the person might want to keep it casual, is you can start asking actual questions about those things. So for instance, say you haven't met their friends, you've been casually dating them for a while, and you're at a point where you think it would be fun to do so. Or maybe you have already introduced them to some of your friends, you've hung out, together, or maybe you're considering it. So you can ask questions like, hey, would you ever want to like hang out with each other's friends? Or there can be more kind of natural ways to weave it into conversation. Maybe an event is coming up, or they mention something that's coming up with their friends, and you mention like, hey, would you want to go sometime? Maybe you offer to bring them, to something where your friends will be, and you see how they respond. Are they comfortable with that? Are they uncomfortable with that? And you can then have follow-up questions from there. Say they are uncomfortable with it. You can choose to ask, oh, why are you uncomfortable? Or it seems like you're uncomfortable, or are you okay with that? These type of conversations, because how they are responding to these questions helps you to really start to determine if it makes sense to even attempt to have the future exclusivity conversation with the person, where you talk to them about moving from casually dating to you each exclusively dating one another. If you know that when you are exclusively dating someone, you want to hang out together amongst one another's friends, and this person is like, I'm not so sure about that. Does it make sense for you to exclusively date them? It might make sense for you to continue to casually date them for a bit longer, before you decide to, again, go one-on-one. But what I'm saying here is it wouldn't make sense for you to leave the casual dating phase with this person and move into exclusively dating if you know that that's something that's important to you and they're not interested in that at this time. So at this point, you either decide, I may choose to vet this person out of my dating pool completely, or I'm going to choose to continue to have them in my casual dating rotation and not choose to have this exclusivity conversation with them just yet, because something that is important to me in an exclusive dating relationship, such as hanging out with our friends together, is not something that they're up for. But at least you have information to make this informed decision not to move forward with the exclusivity and to either continue casually dating them or decide to vet them out of your dating pool. You can apply this example to kind of every area that I mentioned before. Like maybe the communication between you guys in between seeing each other isn't as much as you would like it to be. You can bring this up to the person and say, hey, you know, I'd actually like to chat with you a little bit more between the times that we meet. You see how they respond. This can be about actually, you know, hanging out more and spending time more with them. So being able to say to the person, hey, I'd love to see you a little more often, see how they respond. All of these things are going to give you important information as to where this person stands and how it feels to you. Because if you are interested in seeing them more and they either are like, I'm not interested in that, or maybe they're like, yeah, sure, and then they don't follow through on that, then you have information that you need to determine, okay, do I continue casually dating this person for a bit longer, or do I vet them out of my dating pool? And the answer to that has everything to do with your own timeline and where you are with things and what you want when. If you are dating a couple of other people who are giving you more of that time and energy, then it very well may make sense, and this is one of the reasons why rotationally dating is a good idea. It very well may make sense for you to vet this person out of your dating pool and really then focus your time and energy more on the other people who are bringing what you need them to bring. This is how you help yourself avoid burnout from dating. This is how you help yourself avoid making decisions that are not good for you in terms of who you commit to down the road. If you have your dating pool and you really are vetting people well, you're able to vet certain people out without so much emotional toll, and able to put in the time and energy to the people who are bringing the things that you're looking for, and then you're feeling like you're using your time and emotional energy in a productive manner that feels good to you. Now, another thing that you want to pay attention to is you want to notice if someone is breadcrumbing you. So giving you just enough crumbs to hold on and be interested, but not fully investing in the ways that you need them to do. So this is the person who maybe you say, I'd like to spend more time together and see each other more often. And they're like, absolutely, for sure. And then you find yourself in a position where you're always initiating the time together, or if you don't initiate it, the time doesn't really happen, or it happens very sporadically and doesn't change from how it was when you first brought up the conversation that you want to see each other more. These sort of things are like breadcrumbing, because the person's not flat out saying, no, I'm not interested in that, which would really, you know, make it a little easier for you to say, okay, well, I'm not interested in continuing to date you. They're not doing that. They're saying, sure, cool. So you're like, all right, I'm here. And then they're not following through. And this can apply to various areas and situations. How much you guys communicate, you know, the type of activities you do, all of that sort of stuff. So you do want to notice if someone is breadcrumbing you. They're kind of uh-huh-ing you and then not following through. That would be something you would want to ask yourself. Is that something that I can tolerate? Is that something that I'm cool with? Is that something that I would want in an exclusive dating partner? Does it make sense for me to even attempt to move on to the exclusivity conversation with this person? And so as you're casually dating people, you're wanting to just pay attention to things that are important to you. Maybe you're noticing how this person socializes with other people, not just like potential friends if you meet any of them, but also you are out in public. Maybe the server, are they kind and polite to them? Are they not so much? Is that important to you? You're noticing things around how this person gets to know you. Like, do they show interest in you? Do they ask you questions about yourself? Do they share things about themselves? Does it feel like a pretty balanced give and take of information sharing? These are all things that help you kind of feel out someone and say, do I want to spend more time with this person? Do I want to focus only on dating this person? All of these things need to be going on for you so that you are really able to make the most informed decision for yourself. This is also a great time to utilize that ideal partner list. It's something that I've mentioned a couple times on my channel before, and it's something that my email subscribers get a video for, and where I go step by step on how to actually create and then utilize this list. But in summary, it is a list of all of your qualities for the ideal person for you. And you use this list as a roadmap in the dating process to help you more quickly determine who you should be giving your time and energy to. If you're interested in getting this step-by-step how-to video on creating and utilizing your ideal partner list, just sign up via the link in the video description and that video will get right to you. Finally, we have the exclusivity conversation. This is the conversation that you have with someone who you are casually dating and letting them know that you want to date them exclusively. It must be a conversation. It should not be an assumed understanding. People do this way too often and get hurt and have all sorts of mess way too often. You must speak to the person who you want to be exclusive with and share with them that you want to be exclusive. They need to respond back that they also want to be exclusive. And then you guys need to have shared understanding as to what that looks like. If you are not willing to have this conversation, you should not be trying to date anyone. Not exclusively. Because to move into any future commitment with someone, that is the idea that we are doing life together. And life brings us hard things. So if you can't have uncomfortable conversations with your partner, you are going to struggle to navigate the things that life brings to you. So how about you practice this now? So how do you have this conversation? First, you start with knowing what you want. This whole time that you've been casually dating this person and other people, you should have been using your ideal partner list and really knowing the things that you want and noticing if this person is providing them or capable of providing them, things like that, right? So then you've gotten to the point where you've decided, okay, this is someone who I feel it makes sense to exclusively date. So now you're at the point where you're talking to the person and you can explain, I have vetted out other potential partners and have decided that you're someone who I would like to give more time and energy to and focus more on getting to know for the purposes of potentially moving into a committed relationship at some point. That is ultimately what you are explaining to the person. Fill in the words that work best for you, but let them know that you have vetted out other people, you would like to focus more on them with the potential of moving into a committed relationship. And I do think it's important to explain that part, that exclusively dating them is not you saying we are lifelong committed partners at this point. It is saying, hey, can we both just focus on dating one another and getting to know one another more and not dating other people and honing our energy and time on this one relationship? That's what you are asking of the person. That is what you are telling them you want to do, and you are asking if they are interested in doing. The thought of that can make a lot of people very uncomfortable because no one likes being rejected, and there's potential for rejection there. There's potential for someone even politely and kindly saying, hey, I'm not interested in that right now, or I'm not interested in that with you, or I don't know what I want. So here you are then still in limbo, and you have a decision to make at that point. You can continue to casually date them, or you can decide, I'm going to vet them out of my dating pool. This is the point in which, you make decisions. So I do think it is important to come to this exclusivity conversation already having an idea of what you would want to do depending on a person's response. If they are not interested right now, does that mean that you are okay with continuing to casually date them? Or do you choose to vet them out of your dating pool? Versus if they're not interested in an exclusive dating partnership with you, again, you have, questions to answer. Do I want to continue casually dating them knowing that they will only ever want to casually date me? Or do I decide to vet them out of my dating pool? Have your answers to these questions already prepared based on whatever response this person might give. Also, if they give the response that, I would like to exclusively date you, you also want to know what that looks like to you, because this is the part of the conversation where you guys start making sure you have shared understandings of what it means to exclusively date. So is it we're only dating one another, we're only going on dates with one another, we are trying to have maybe a certain consistent amount of time of speaking to one another or seeing one another. I'm not sitting here saying that you're necessarily mapping out schedules here, but that there is this understanding that we are putting time, effort, and energy into this process so that we can determine if we want to commit any further. Because maybe we don't. Maybe we do the exclusive dating thing for a little while and decide, you know what? It's been cool, but a commitment of trying to build a life together is not what works for one or both of us. That is the idea behind this. You are still vetting even when you're exclusively dating. And I'll talk more about that in the third part to this series, where you move from exclusively dating to a committed partnership. But back to this idea of rejection. It is understandably uncomfortable to consider putting yourself out there and telling someone, I would like to exclusively date you. I would like you to exclusively date me. So what do you think? This is part of why I say to really pay attention early on in the vetting process as to whether this person has any serious intentions of potentially committing to anyone at all, and specifically you, before you even decide to have this exclusivity conversation. Because if you're getting all the signs that someone is really just wanting to keep it casual, then you don't even want to put yourself in a position of having this conversation, quite frankly, because you should be vetting out the fact that, okay, this person isn't for me. They're not trying to spend time with me, or they're only trying to spend time to sleep with me, or they don't want to do any of the things that are important to me in an exclusive dating relationship. So it doesn't make sense to try to move this any further. What you don't want to do is expect that after someone enters an exclusive dating relationship with you, they're going to then bring these things that they weren't showing you before. That's not something you want to bet on. That's really not a good path to take. This is how things can easily become a situation of, you know, someone may agree because they don't want to lose the current interactions with you. So they may be like, okay, yeah, let's exclusively date. And you have in your mind this whole idea of what that's supposed to look like. And they're like, kind of like, well, I didn't know you wanted this or meant this. And then here we are with all sorts of drama of people feeling betrayed or cheated on or not respected or not a priority to someone, all of these different things. So you do want to first determine if there's any likelihood that this person has any interest in committing, which should have come not only from your own vetting and observations, but also from you actually having conversation with them and hearing what they have to say about it. But also you're wanting to make sure the two of you have a shared understanding of what exclusively dating looks like for the both of you. Okay, that's it. How to move someone from a casual dating partner to exclusive dating partner based on your vetting process. You're wanting to know what you want and what you're looking for out of the dating experience, and you're wanting to observe and notice what you're getting from other people, as well as having explicit conversations with people about certain things. Because again, if your goal is to have a healthy, happy, thriving, committed relationship, this is something you owe yourself to do. And it's something that, quite frankly, you don't have the luxury of not doing. You have to have the tough, uncomfortable conversations. You have to go through the vetting process of really, weeding people out and determining if you are getting from dating partners what you need from them, just as they should be doing with you. Because as much as we would like for everyone we meet to be great and wonderful and perfect for us, the reality is they can be a perfectly fine person, but not for you. So sometimes you just have to say to them, do you, but not with me, and keep it moving.
Thanks for watching, and don't forget to click the link to join my email list. See you soon.